Hey guys, Scott here. Today I get to do one of my favorite things, which is read YouTube comments and respond to them. This is about my video I made yesterday about syringes and how I think they're a little too strong, and how the main nerf I suggested was it should just be a flat timer for the effect to actually happen, and it should not be affected by increases to heal speed. I feel like a lot of people don't even know that's the case, and so a lot of people wouldn't even notice the change to begin with, but I think that's one of the main abusable parts of it, and it causes there to be a larger disparity between killers that are already very good. Blight, for example, doesn't care about a syringe because he can just catch up and hit, but a weaker killer like Pig, for example, cannot get a hit in that time frame if they have any healing add-ons or items or anything like that. So that is my suggestion. It was relatively tame. Most people probably wouldn't even notice a difference, but there were, of course, a lot of very clearly, I play both sides players, meaning I played killer once in 2017. That was fun, but I just wanted to go over some of these comments because it's entertaining for you and it's entertaining for me too as well. Very first one, they are weak. Okay, just bring Franklin's demise. So that is a commonly suggested thing to deal with syringes, but unfortunately it doesn't work as well as you'd think because Franklin's demise takes a while for the item to fully deplete all of its charges. You only need a single charge to use a syringe. You don't need anything. Now, if they don't have a syringe, then yeah, Franklin's is really good at countering medkits because they're not going to be able to get that full heal off, and getting the full heal is the important part about being able to reset by yourself. That's what makes it so strong. But if you bring Franklin's and you pick it up, or a teammate picks it up anytime within, like a minute or something, you got a very wide window to retain at least one charge on that item. You can still use a syringe and it's actually not affected. So the syringe is actually disproportionately less affected compared to most other add-ons and items. So Franklin's, it can if that item is forgotten about for the rest of the match, but I have very often found that when people have syringes, someone will go pick it up, or they'll pick it up later because, it can be a while unless I'm just monitoring that, item on the ground the entire time. Chances are it's going to have at least a charge or two left. So at this point, I believe people in this community, not everyone will find any reason to complain about something on both sides. It's becoming exhausting. The point is just seeing constant complaining, whether it's killers complaining about syringes, which is honestly unwarranted because no one had a problem with syringes when they originally got changed. That is not true. I have multiple videos abusing the shit out of it on my channel, talking about how stupid it is. I'm not sure where they are, but they're definitely there. Remember, I use the green med kits and use them on myself with botany knowledge. I have several videos of me abusing this and talking about how stupid it is, so that's just not true. Not because Hens makes a video on it as a random outcry. Again, no, it has nothing to do with Hens. Well, I mean, maybe it does if that is why I'm seeing so many lately. I'm doing it because I'm seeing one or two in every single game now, and it's kind of getting annoying because they're very, very strong. But I have always had the same opinion that syringes, obviously the original form was beyond broken. I still think the current form is it's not broken, it's just a little too strong. And I have been saying that since I've been doing the meme green medkit healing videos since probably 3 years ago. It was around Circle of Healing's time that I started trying to combine all these heal speed things. So yeah, I have been pretty consistent on that. This is not something new. It's just a current discussion that's happening now because it's more prevalent in the community. Oh geez, here we go again, lol, complaining about syringes in the big 2025. Also so many, and it's just one. It's like 1 or 2 per game, but yes, that is a lot. They're fine, and not everything needs a nerf. Maybe a few seconds so you'll just shut up about it, but holy, it's not that bad. Much bigger issue than this, like killer haste perks, when made for this, was nerfed, but some like that was ignored. Also, Bloodlust still being in the game. As I responded to this person, I'll just say the same thing I said in the actual text response. Hey man, Bloodlust, haste perks, not everything needs a nerf. I like how y'all complaining about survivor items when most survivors are trash at the game. I can tell you with 100% accuracy that Survivor's survival rate is low as shit. So why nerf solo survivor even more when they suck? Well, the good part about the way I suggested this change, all it does is make the weakest killers in the game a bit better, and it doesn't affect the strongest killers at all. So really all it's doing is just doing this with the balance, which is what you should be doing for both killer and survivor. It makes it so a killer like, Pig, for example, actually has a chance to down someone that drops a god pallet, pops a syringe, and just holds forward for 20 seconds. Because and what can you possibly do against that? Meanwhile, Nurse or Blight or Billy or anyone that's got movement or map control, they'll be fine. So it really only makes the weakest killer stronger and does basically nothing to the strongest killer. So I thought that was a very fair way to do it. Oops, someone's pulling an Almo. Must have gotten your butt kicked in a game that used syringes, an add-on that's only a single use and can be easily interrupted. It's not strong. In fact, it used to be way stronger. You guys never complained about it back then. What in the hell are you talking about, dude? Everyone, even fucking even Survivor mains would talk about how busted the original syringes were. You could literally revive yourself mid-hit. Instead of going down, you would be full health. Like, they were so utterly busted. Everyone complained about that. The newer syringes, I have definitely, it's not even complained about. I'm just remarking about how very strong they are. I mean, I was benefiting from it when I was using it, and I'm still, you know, most of the time winning. So it's not like this is a complaint like, oh, I'm getting my ass beat by syringes. I can't handle it now, blah, blah, blah. Like, I play the game for a living. I'm not the standard at which the average player who is dealing with this shit should be judged. That's not fair to 99.9% of the killer player base. So, definitely, this is the fucking delusional. It's like saying that no one complained about old syringes is actually insane. Syringe is fine. You can only use it once. I'll reiterate this point too. That is true. You can only use it once, but there are 4 people on your team, meaning you can have to, as killer, encounter that 4 times. I know you're almost never going to encounter 4 syringes in a match. That's rare even for right now. Most I've seen is like 2 or 3, but a lot of people don't realize as Survivor when they don't play killer that you are not like the main character. You're not the center of the universe. There are other people in the lobby, and the killer has to deal with all of the things that all of you brought. Yeah, you can use your syringe, and maybe your syringe gets cucked or something and it doesn't work because you use it as a bad time or it's a strong killer or something like that. That doesn't mean that the syringe is fine. It just means your specific example in that game was not good. What if the other 3 teammates got to use it successfully? The killer still had to deal with that. So you really have to kind of take your, you know, you have to step back a bit, I think, and really think about how the killer has to encounter every possibility that the survivors are bringing, but you as a survivor only have to deal with what you yourself have brought. Here we go. I knew this was coming. Once Hens brought it up, I knew either Jund or Otts would follow, like clockwork. That's crazy, man. That's crazy that he predicted that the Dead by Daylight discussion channel would have a Dead by Daylight discussion. That's fucking Nostradamus over here. Syringe makes the killer chasing you give them 0 value if they injure you, artificially extending chases, which can be annoying, sure. But killer add-ons artificially end chases early, so, like, what's the issue? I get Syringe is strong, but y'all had Compound 33 for 5 years. And we complained about Compound 33 for 5 years. It's in fact possible for things to be broken on both sides. Wild. If a killer add-on can make my match a living hell, syringes are fair game. Why is there so much whataboutism in the DBD community between people that only play one side? I find whataboutism is so common. In fact, I've done multiple videos about this. It's amazing how much, instead of addressing the thing that is being talked about, people will say, well, I also have to deal with this, so you should also suffer as well. It's so strange. You should, like, the correct response should be, you're right, that's bullshit. I have to deal with this stuff too, and we should address this as well. But not, I don't care about your shit because I have shit to deal with. Like, that's not a healthy way to look at anything in any community, not even involving video games. It's just a bad way to live life in general. Also, this is just a weird take. All red add-ons are bad game design. Like, that iridescent add-ons have such a wide range of value. Some of them are insanely strong, like Black Incense, and some of them are just utterly useless. So, like, you can't generalize all iridescent add-ons like that because some of them are garbage. So I don't even know how to address that. I don't disagree that syringes are strong, but I also don't think that they need a nerf. You say all the time that you win a solid 90% of your killer games, but Survivor you escape less than half. The Survivor escape rate's already below the 40% the devs want nerfing, so their best add-on will only drive it lower. People are bringing syringes because solo queue is such a nightmare and most people play solo. Since the discussion about slugging being not a widespread issue, I've seen probably a 4-fold increase in games where killers slug all game, so I think players are trying to combat that by healing themselves with a syringe. So the killers that are doing that are typically the killers that have impressive map control. You're going to see it on Singularity, Blight, Nurse can do it. Anyone that's got really good map control, at which point your syringe is useless against them. It's not going to do anything. So it's not like you're not going to like get hit by a nurse and pop a syringe and then the nurse is just not going to down you for like 24 seconds. It's just not. You're going to go down regardless. So I don't think the syringe really affects the killers that are good enough to really capitalize on the slug playstyle. So I'm not really sure that that's going to solve most of your problems. What you could do is syringe another teammate to force the killer to kind of split between two. So that's probably a better use of it, but just pop it in on yourself. It's not going to do much against the killers that are already adept at the slugging playstyle because that playstyle requires a decent amount of map control or pressure, and the killer needs to have some of that sort of in their base kit. I want to bring up this point too. I win a solid 90% of my games, but still saying something needs to be nerfed. Yeah, and I escape, 40% of my Survivor games, and I also think that certain things on Survivor needs to be, nerfed or buffed, or vice versa on Killer. The point is, my win rates are not indicative of overall the game balance. Any content creator's win rate is not overall indicative of the game's balance. By that logic, you could say, well, people are winning, 2,000 matches in a row with Blight, so, there's nothing wrong with Killer anymore. Like, you're just looking at a weird niche scenario and then applying it to the rest of the entire community. That's not really fair. We're not the normal player that plays this game. But most people don't play DBD for a living. Most people don't even watch these videos. They just casually play an hour a day, and that's about it. So basing all of the balance and everything that happens in the game based off of my personal results, that's not how this works. I'm trying to think about other people that have less hours and that have less knowledge about the game than me. I'm not trying to minimize them. I'm acknowledging that that's most of the player base, and the game should be balanced around not people that have no idea what they're doing. Of course not. It should be balanced around your average experienced casual player, pretty much. That's like where I think the target balance should be. It should not be people that are brand new, and it should not be people like me that play this game for a living. That's a ridiculous standard to set as the default for balance. That doesn't make any sense. So I don't ever see my win rate as being a detractor to the arguments I'm making, because I'm speaking for other people right now. This is not really a problem that's causing me to lose. It's a problem that's causing other people immense amounts of frustration, and that's why I think it needs to be fixed. This is a made-up issue. Syringes are just fine as they are. I mean, to be fair, every complaint or balance discussion in this game is a made-up issue, so fair, I guess. The devs need to stop nerfing healing if they're going to also keep giving killers way to ignore having to loop. That is we're just talking about something, that is a completely separate discussion. That is perfect example of whataboutism. Don't nerf healing because this separate issue exists. Okay. Killers use the strongest add-ons every game. Survivors use the strong add-ons every game. Bad. It's like it's implying that I support killers using busted shit every game, but I don't support survivors using busted shit every game. Again, I can point to you fucking 29 videos of me bitching about Blight's add-ons and shit like that. I have so many videos, probably more complaining about killer add-ons than survivor add-ons, because there's just less survivor add-ons. So I don't understand who this is even directed to. Anyone that's watched my channel for more than a week knows that I also talk about this too, and probably in even greater frequency. So I don't even know who this is addressing. I don't know, man. There's only like 4 syringes on the map, and Nemesis's infection is permanent. I think that... Shut up. So many syringes every game. Shows screenshots with 1 syringe per game. It was 1 to 2 per game, but I was saying so many syringes every game. Not so many syringes every game, but I understand how that can be a bit confusing, so that's fair. Syringes are not OP. They're one of the last good add-ons. Revert medkit changes, and no one will use them. The actual broken medkit add-on is Styptic, but it takes some skill to use. I find Styptic easier to counter, unless they've got like a fast vault right next to them, then it's pretty hard to deal with, but I find Styptic's definitely easier to counter, because they are only relevant in a specific chase, whereas syringes can be used in and out of chase as well. So they're way, way more multi-purpose and way more universally useful in a match, unless you're like Plague or Legion or something like that. But saying revert medkit changes, that is an insane take to me. I'm sorry, you should not be able to heal yourself in fucking 6 seconds with a green medkit. That was asinine, and anyone defending that has no idea what they're talking about and should just be, their opinion should be disregarded. A 6-second self-heal by just slapping on botany knowledge and a green medkit. No, that's ridiculous. You should never be able to do that. I'm sorry, I will die on that hill that the medkit changes that happened were good. I do think that they should do some other more interesting things with medkits, like give them more unique effects now that they're all sort of monotonized. That's kind of boring in the other direction. But no, green medkits were absolutely ridiculous. They 100% had to be nerfed. Defending that is just, you only play Survivor. That's it. I saw your X tweet. You're a salty dude. You're mad you can't win every single match. Again, I don't know why people go for this. Like, I'm fine. I'm not talking about me. I'm okay. This is I'm speaking on behalf of people that, I don't know, don't play the game for a living, perhaps. It's wild, because survivors have nothing to bring. Killers bring their crimson add-ons. Why wouldn't survivors? Again, just the way, oh, it's the same person. Just the way they're talking. Like, this person's clearly new to the game. Just calling them, like, crimson. Like, it's one of those tells as well. When someone is new to the game, they call them, like, hunters instead of killers, stuff like that. So they're definitely new to the game. And then implying survivors have no other good things to bring. like Commodious with wire spool and swivels, Alex's with a sabot, blood amber on a key, styptics in general, double sutures for skill checks on Medkit. There are so many good things you can bring a survivor. This is just fucking insane copium. Also, again, assuming all iridescent add-ons are good, half of them are useless, so it's just clearly a new player. God, winning 90% of my games as killer isn't enough, John. God, it's incredible how many people have a lack of empathy in this community. They cannot fathom a concept in which I'm talking on behalf of people that might be less experienced. It's insane that the people think this is an actual defense or an argument to anything I'm saying. Like, I want to win 99.9% of my games. 90% is not enough. I constantly make fun of the fact that it's even possible for me to win 9 out of 10 of my games without even really trying. Like, I constantly say, in no game with an MMR system should you ever be able to do this. I constantly make fun of how dumb that is. But that has nothing to do with what the fuck I'm talking about. Again, I am not the people that play this game. I am one person that plays this game for a living. 99.9% of people do not play this game for a living, and they don't have the ability to do what I'm able to do. It's crazy that you don't understand I'm speaking on behalf of other people that have to deal with this. Why does no one in this community have even the concept of empathy? It's insane to me. In 2021, Scott complained that enough people parroted him to get medkits gutted. Times a flat circle. Fucking good. One syringe in a game really hurts you? That's one chase hit. Again, I think this comes from a lot of inexperience and people not understanding how killer works in this game. Just reversing one hit can single-handedly lose the killer a game, and it's very easy to see when this happens. For example, think about something like Unbreakable. Unbreakable makes you think you're in a winning scenario as killer. Suddenly someone pops himself back up, one reversal of a health state, and now suddenly the killer loses. It's not just like, oh, your one little chase is a bit harder. There are so many scenarios where that snowballing is not able to happen because of the heal, and that causes the killer to lose. You don't really have time as killer in this game to go and just, 12 hook everybody and have nice 45-second wholesome chases with everybody. That's just not how the game works. You don't have time to do that. So at some point, you need to rely on some type of snowballing tactic, be either like proxy camping or like even like a 3-gen or slugging or something like that. In those tough matches, you can't 12 hook every time. It's just impossible. So yeah, those little scenarios where you're about to snowball and it gets reversed can single-handedly lose you the game. And yes, that is absolutely something that happens. There's more now because medkits have been nerfed to the dirt, and it's the only add-on that's remotely interesting. I recommend you guys use the double skill check add-ons and see how insanely good those are for medkits. I can't wait for that renaissance to appear. The medkit itself is nerfed to the dust. The add-ons still boring and weak. Besides the pink and purple add-on, what add-ons are kind of fun to run? Again, skill check add-ons, try it. You'll thank me later. It's like arguably better than old green medkits. It's insane if you get like 1 or 2 skill checks. All that being said, yeah, I can understand that. And I'm all for looking for more interesting things to do with medkits. A lot of people suggested giving like kind of like mini perk effects. Like the green medkit allows you to have bite the bullet while you're healing. The purple medkit gives you aura reading on the killer in 8 meters while you're, just like random things like that make them more interesting. I think that would be completely fine. So I would have no problem with them making those things more interesting. I think that's totally fine. Survivor games are miserable, whereas Killer practically plays itself. Maps are smaller, gens take longer, heals take longer, half the killers ignore pallets, medkits nerfed, toolkits nerfed, flashlights nerfed, keys nerfed. Guess what being talked about? Survivor buffs. No nerfing add-ons for the nerfed medkits. Good luck keeping new players when FNAF comes out, because most of those new survivors are going to quit in less than a week when they experience the fun of playing Survivor in 2025. Look, I'm not going to pretend that playing solo queue Survivor is a great experience, which is why I constantly and consistently advocate for buffing aspects of solo queue, namely things like communication, the anti-face cam thing needs to be on the bar, things like that. We definitely need to make solo queue stronger, I completely agree. But I don't understand where this, like, direct comparison comes here. Like, maps are smaller, gens take longer, heals take longer. Like, all these things you're listing are true. They are objectively true. These things have gotten weaker for Survivor over time. It's because Survivor was so hilariously broken that that's the trend the game needed to go. Yes, Survivor has gotten a shit ton of nerfs because the game was stupid when it came out. They needed to get a bunch of nerfs over time for it to make sense in any way. So yeah, I understand that it's frustrating if you play Survivor mostly, and then these things are getting nerfed because you're used to having, frankly, insanely broken shit be in the game. But you need to realize that's only getting nerfed that much because they were insanely broken to begin with. So first of all, Things like maps are smaller. This is just a generalization. They're still giant maps. Like half the maps are fucking massive. Asylum, Nostromo, like there are still so many giant maps in the game. So like, yeah, they have nerfed the size of some of them, like, you know, Red Forest, like Mother's Dwelling and things like that, which is great. Those maps needed to be made smaller. It was stupid that it would take a killer that didn't have a movement ability 50 seconds to get to the end. That's bad game design. And if you're complaining about that, I'd cope, I guess. I don't know how to be nice about that. That's just shitty game design. No one should have to hold forward for 50 seconds to get to the other side of the map. That's just not well made. And it only makes it so the killers that do have map control are just disproportionately even stronger than they already are. It just doesn't make any sense. That being said, still half the maps of the game are fucking huge. So I don't know what that means. Gen takes longer. That is true. There is 10 seconds more to a generator. However, most of the strongest killer slowdown has been nerfed heavily. So yes, that's true. Base get a bit longer, but also all the slowdown perks have been nerfed to a very significant amount as well. Heals take longer. Good. You shouldn't be able to heal yourself in 6 seconds. That is game-breakingly stupid. Half the killers ignore pallets. That is, I mean, that's just how the game has been going. I agree. I think just putting like generic 50-50 anti-loop killers in the game is not particularly exciting in any way. So I can understand that frustration. Medkit's nerfed. That's back to this. They needed to be nerfed. Toolkit's nerfed. Toolboxes are still super good. If you're talking about brand new parts from the original version, yeah, obviously that was stupid and needed to be nerfed. But a commodious toolbox with wire spool and swivels is arguably stronger than a syringe even. I'm not gonna even talk about that, but it's really, really strong. So toolboxes are just fine. Also, they buffed the shit out of Alex's toolbox for saboing, so now it's actually unstoppable as a killer in between an attack cooldown hit. So I'm not sure I agree with that. Flashlights nerfed. Are you actually defending insta-blinds, you psycho? Because that's basically the only nerf they got. They made it so you can't do insta-blinds anymore, which if you're defending that, holy fuck, that is not an argument. That just means you've never played killer in your life. Keys nerfed. Again, if you're defending how old keys worked, where a killer could lose because they killed someone too fast, I feel like, again, you've never touched killer before in your life. You've basically all brought up things that needed to be changed. And that's not really a good defense, in my opinion. You can't talk about something that's insanely broken, have it get fixed, and then go, well, they fixed this thing, therefore, fuck you, I need this thing now. That's not how this works. You literally won every match from the screenshot shown. It's easy to counter IMO. Never had any issues with them, at least. Again, with the win thing, it's a non-argument. With your mains, Wesker and Ghostface. Yeah, Wesker can go fast and cut them off so they can't actually benefit from the syringe in time, and Ghostface expose hits so they don't benefit from the heal in time. No shit, you don't care about them. If you're letting survivors heal with syringes mid-chase, you're a bad killer. It takes forever even with add-ons. It takes 24 seconds with nothing. So you get like 20 seconds of a speed boost just running forward after you get hit, which means you can't loop for 4 seconds. I feel like you're just like super ass at Survivor if you're getting downed in that amount of time. Again, unless it's a killer that doesn't even care about the add-on to begin with, at which point there's no discussion here. That's, again, 24 seconds with nothing. You slap on a abdominal dressing for 25% more, or even a botany knowledge, and you're looking at, 16 seconds or even less. So yeah, that's literally the duration of a speed boost running forward in an open field with nothing. Oh my god, it's literally always something. Killer main here. Syringes are fine. I have never once complained about them. Oh, well then they're fine. Dude said 95%. It's just a win argument again. This is just literally people that don't know what empathy is. Yes, the syringe is strong. All the games are syringes. It's not that they're OP. It's that medkits have become too weak. Back then, you could heal yourself multiple times. Now you need a syringe or stack charges to squeeze the second heal in. Your add-on's supposed to be strong. Look at the killer side. Cough, placker, trapper, plague, singularity, cough, for example. Do I have to list all the shitty iridescent add-ons too? Medkits have not become too weak. Medkits have actually become balanced, is the problem. People were just used to broken medkits. No, you shouldn't be able to heal yourself in 8 seconds 3 times per match. I can't express how much lost pressure that is for killer. Old medkits were too strong. They just were. As an experienced player, they were just too strong. I play both sides, not equally. I play a bit more killer than survivor. They were just too strong. You should not be able to heal yourself in 8 seconds 3 times per match. That's just stupid. So that brings up syringes are too strong. All screenshots are 4K. Oh my god. Is there like a psycho epidemic in this game where people like they just no one else exists? Is it just like, is it everyone just practices solipsism where they're just the only thing that exists in the world? That's, oh, you are coping so hard. What does that mean? I'm coping for what? there needs to be a thing I'm coping for other than just like suggesting a balancing change, a very minor one to where heal speed modifications don't affect the syringe. That's all I suggested. I don't know what this means. Like, there has to be a thing I'm coping about. I take 4 syringes over 4 toolboxes built to last and streetwise. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You're right. That is probably even more broken. Correct. The fact an item affects the main objective of the game is bonkers. They can keep syringes, flashlights, sabo, but gen rushes you can't handle because there's no way to stop them from using the toolboxes. If you have a problem with syringes, use Franklin's. Again, they one charge, it still works, but it's useless against toolboxes since the time you get to them when they're already applied, they use their BMPs or use the toolboxes ready. I mean, I agree. He's unintentionally bringing up the fact that a stack Commodious toolbox is possibly even more busted. You're right. You should probably nerf that too. So I feel like it's not the result he wanted from that. I want you to play in a Survive with Friends or solo queue in high MMR against sweaty blights back-to-back over and over and lose and tell me if syringes need to be nerfed. It's irrelevant to the discussion. A blight's going to hit you within those 24 seconds. Syringes don't matter in that regard. These are not a problem at all. Only skill issue killers have an issue with a 24-second heal. Again, you gain 20 seconds of distance just getting hit and running forward. Meaning there's a 4-second window that, assuming they just run in a straight line and forget that anything exists, like pallets or windows or just literally anything, and they have no perks and they're just a brainless monkey that can only run in a straight line. I don't think people realize how short of a time 24 seconds is when it comes to being hit by a killer. That's very easy to do. It's really easy to last 24 seconds. Again, unless it's a killer that's so strong, they negate this, at which point, again, the suggestion I made wouldn't affect this in any way. The whole point is making the disparity between the weakest killers and the strongest killers smaller. So this would give the weakest killers a slight chance, maybe, assuming they can't get to a loop in 20 seconds, which who the fuck can't get to a loop in 20 seconds? It would give them a slight chance, as opposed to you cannot do anything. Like, again, the example I bring up is you're on the game, and you're playing Pig, Survivor is injured, they drop a god pallet, pop a syringe, and run forward. They just have to run forward, and then they're healed. There's nothing you can do to stop that. That's my point. Those are the scenarios that need to be fixed, whereas if you're Nurse or Blight or any, fast killer, you can stop that. So disproportionately, it doesn't affect the weak killer with no movement, but the strong killer can ignore it entirely. So that's the thing I'm trying to say here. And 24 seconds for any killer that doesn't have a movement ability is not a lot of time. Survivors can't have anything. Every time someone says killers can't have anything or survivors can't have anything, you can guarantee they only play that side that they're talking about. It's like such a common starting argument I've noticed. Out of all the items, only 2 are worth using. That is so not true. And in this case, only some add-ons are useful. Even medkits were already nerfed. Now it's time for their add-ons. By nerfing everything, there's no surprise that only a few items remain useful. The best way is to make other items and add-ons interesting enough, otherwise there'll be no variety. Again, I can agree with the ending part of that, and I'm all for making more medkit add-ons interesting. That's fine. But saying only 2 items are worth using, unless you're saying there's only 5 items in the game. So you're saying that, Key with Blood Amber is insanely good. On Boon or Totem builds, maps are insanely useful, especially for finding killer totems as well for Pentimento builds. Insanely useful. Medkit's obviously useful. Toolbox is useful. Pretty much everything is useful in some way. Firecracker is immensely useful. Everything is useful in some regards, so that's just incorrect. Of course, Scott Canner an OP item and has to complain about it. Yep, there it is every time. As you, classical killer main who likes slugging and winning. What is that one? First of all, I don't like doing this. He's obviously never watched me before. I love the people that's the tourists from my channel that have never actually watched me play the game. But what is this part? Those classic killer mains that like winning. Syringes aren't the problem. With syringes, you can at least interact with the killer. But with toolboxes, we're just going into whataboutism for something else. I don't even have to read any further. Yay, medkits nerf, toolboxes nerf, syringes possibly. Let's go nerf flashlights and make it where chests don't give items. Let's make it where only one survivor can bring an item. Then fate these changes. Let's make flashlights where you can only flash a killer but can't blind, and also make the charges go by faster. The guy sounds very upset. Here we go again. Another take that proves just how deep the bias against survivor really runs. You killer mains are so used to nerfing survivors into the ground while buffing killers left and right. You genuinely believe survivors are too much when in reality, we're just trying to survive. You act like every game's a perfectly coordinated squad match, but let's be real. When you're playing with... Oh, wait, no, that's the end. There's no more. I thought there'd be more. What a weird place to end that comment. I love these people that have like that. Just it's like clearly like their first time watching my channel or something like that. Because I am seen as like a joke in the killer community for how much I cater towards survivors. So when I see these ones that like you biased killer main, it always tickles me. Syringes are getting out of control. Killers are able to use an eerie add-on. Again, these are comments made by people that don't know what they're talking about. Half the eerie add-ons for killers are worthless, and you're also comparing killer power add-ons to survivor item add-ons, which is, it's not even a valid comparison. You're talking about just two completely separate things at this point. But whenever I see comments like this, like the eerie add-ons are all the best, you know they don't know what they're talking about. Hello, Scott. I think what you meant to say was behavior should delete syringes altogether. Nope, just make healing speed modifications not affected. That's it. I don't know why you're assuming I'm saying other than the thing I just said. I need to reiterate what my original suggestion for the changes to syringes were. I suggested that the heal speed modifications of add-ons and items do not affect the syringe. So if you slap We're Gonna Live Forever on a build and syringe a survivor on the ground, they don't get up in 8 seconds. Or if you have, botany knowledge and an abdominal dressing, you don't self-heal yourself in 14 seconds or something like that. That's the thing that's what I have an issue with, because like I said, for like the 5th time, it makes weaker killers unable to do anything, but the strongest killers can still combat it. So you need to make it so the weaker killers are just not punished as much by that, while still retaining the same insanely beneficial passive effect of what the heal actually does. You can be doing a gen and healing at the same time, or use it in a chase. You're just gonna have to at least last, the 24 or 30 seconds, whatever the new baseline value would be. The amount I'm asking to nerf this is so minor that people don't even know what they're responding to. I think there was like one guy in the comments, and of every comment, and of every 780 comments on this video, not a single person explained why what I suggested was bad. They just said, nerf bad. They didn't even realize that it probably wouldn't even be a noticeable thing to them, because I guarantee they're not knowledgeable about the game to even know that heal speed modifications affected the rate of a syringe heal. So I feel like 90% of the people complaining don't even know what they're complaining about, and nobody addressed the thing I actually suggested. They just think I want syringes deleted, despite me giving a very clear example of what the suggestion was and how I think that would be fair. So it's just, I don't know, it's your classic people entering into the video, having no idea who I am. They get in and they're suggested to make an opinion about it immediately. They also don't listen to what I say. It's basically someone just sees the title and then posts their comment and then fucks off without any actual interaction or discussion with the things that I've actually been saying. And that's being a YouTuber in general.